and welcome to Your Wealthy Self with me, Regina Martinelli. This show is about money and a whole lot more. Here we focus on you being able to expand your capacity for money, success, and abundance, and inner and outer wealth. For you to have what's important to you so that you can feel like your wealthy self. This show is really about honoring your wholeness, that you are enough just as you are to have what's most important to you. What's important might be the freedom to have more success, money without guilt or shame, or maybe it's being unapologetically yourself, or having more certainty in your sense of purpose, or feeling daily joy and fulfillment within you. Whatever it is, whatever is important to you, whatever makes you feel like you are your wealthy self, both inside and out, we are up to creating in this show because we stand in that you can have that. You can have what's important to you, and you can do it without struggle, and you can do it with ease and certainty. And we do all of this exploration and creation through the lens of money. Why money? Because money is a spiritual highlighter. It actually reveals how you engage with the world, how much you will allow yourself to have, and how easily you allow yourself to have it. And it also highlights how much struggle you subconsciously believe you need to have in your life in order to deserve the money or success that you desire. So basically, it's about looking and finding how easily we can have it and how far we can get that and expand that before we bump up against our own internal system that says, oh no, it's too easy. I have to work harder. I have to struggle. I'm not sure I deserve to have it this easy, because that spot right there is where the gems are. It's where the true work begins, and that's where the fun is in creating your wealthy self, because you can have it easier. You can expand farther. You can have it the way that you want it. You don't have to work harder, smarter, or have more struggle to be deserving or worthy of what you want. And often when we don't feel worthy of the success that we desire, we will augment our worth by creating the struggle in our lives. If it is happening too easily, we will start to create struggle. Subconsciously, we'll start to make it harder. This is where you can hear people say, I'm successful and I sacrificed a lot to get here, but it was worth it. Or the mantra of you have to work hard for money. You have to put your time in, no pain, no gain. None of these notions are the truth. And if you believe that you have to work hard for your money, then you will have to work hard for your money. In this show, we're revising all of these beliefs so you can have more of what's important to you with more ease, certainty, freedom, and fun. Today's show, we're going to talk about how our brains actually work against us regarding money, how your brain gets our beliefs to be true. There's something called our reticular activating system, the RAS of our brain, and it starts to filter for evidence that our beliefs are true. It's kind of like, have you ever wanted to buy a new car and you are like, I got a friend who wanted to buy a Prius, and she was okay. So I started looking around at different Priuses and started to notice all the Priuses on the road. She was, it's literally from the day she decided she wanted to buy a Prius, the next day it seemed like there was thousands of them all over her city and her county. And it's not that everybody ran out and got Priuses the night before. It's that they've always been there, but her brain was not tracking for it, wasn't looking for evidence of all the Priuses that are out there that are working and running and that people are using. But when she made that decision, her brain started to look for those to support her beliefs. So why our brains need these beliefs to be true, why they need to filter for evidence to support our beliefs, is for predictability. One of your brain's main function is your safety and your survival. And how your brain does that is finding evidence that how it sees the world is actually how the world is. That it can actually predict that it's going to be this way. It's kind of like you can predict there's somebody that you know who's always going to be fun and chatty to talk to, or someone who's always someone you dislike and don't want to deal with because of the tension they create between you and them. You have those beliefs, those people cannot show up without that layer there. So they're always going to show up as that brain perceives them, because your brain wants to be able to predict that life is going to happen this way, because that's what keeps you safe. is your brain's ability to predict how people are going to be, how life's going to be, how things are going to show up. And your brain's constantly sorting for evidence for that to be true. When we hold our beliefs really tightly as the truth, then our brain will start to find more and more and more evidence that that is the truth and that things actually work that way. Like if you believe you have to work hard for your money, then your brain will start to sort for evidence that that is true. If you get money too easily, your brain will send it away subconsciously. And when we hold on to these truths and we don't re-inspect them, then we miss out on experiencing more choice and freedom around creating what we want. You may be like me, where you love to work on yourself and get the blocks out of the way. And after enough time of doing this, you wonder why you don't have what you want yet. And you get frustrated or resigned or resentful for having taken the time to work on yourself or work on these blocks or these money beliefs. And you've spent the money and you're still having struggles of having what's most important to you the way that you want it. Well, the good news is it's not your fault. And the bad news is it's your brain. It's how it's designed to prevent change. Yet even the change you want, that you most want in your life around money, health, relationship, or even happiness, your brain is designed, part of your brain is designed to decline that change, to resist it. Did you know that by the time you're 3 years old, your brain is designed to stabilize, and to remove the neurons pathways that are not being used? It will literally start to prune them back and focus on the neurons that are most active. At 3 years old, you are still learning to walk, talk, speak, make sense of the world, and your brain is already trying to stabilize your neurology for your survival and cut back on these other neurons and things that you've learned. Coincidentally, by age 3, most of our beliefs about who we are, what we deserve, and how easily we can have it, or how much struggle we need to go through, are all in place. You combine that with your brain needing to lock those belief patterns into place as a permanent foundation and being able to predict how the world is going to be and how much you deserve, you can see then where those deeply held fears, anxieties, and shame got solidified. So your brain is focused on stabilizing what it knows by age 3. So it does not update these childhood beliefs when you become an adult. This is also true if you experience shame or fear and anxiety around your family dynamic or the household you grew up in. And then your brain starts to stabilize that as the foundation. And your brain doesn't give you a new operating system every year. It doesn't update those as you get older and start to make more sense of what happened in your childhood. You know, like your phone gives you a new operating system, every 6 months? But your brain does not. It just keeps using the old beliefs as the foundation for who you are, because it's part of how it predicts the world, what has kept you safe thus far. And this is very problematic because that childhood experience had a lot of things in it that your younger self didn't know how to make sense of and decided most likely that it meant something about yourself, but that there was something wrong with you. And now that belief is being carried forth into your adult years, into your relationships, your well-being, your relationship with money, because your brain, again, is designed to stabilize experiences and information. Yet your consciousness is designed to expand and expand and expand and expand. So part of your brain is on lockdown, while your consciousness is reaching out as far as it can on the regular. So let's take a more detailed look at how your brain works against you regarding having what you want, like money, well-being, love, and connection. So you ever wonder why you have this great aha, like from podcasts, meditations, therapy, coaching, workshops? Yet there's a reason why these conventional approaches haven't worked like you want them to. It's because there's no sticking power. It's not as deep as you would like. And you're very aware of why you do it, why you have those patterns, how they came about, and when you do it, yet you know why yet you don't know why all this awareness hasn't shifted in a more permanent, powerful way. Well, That's because most of these practices, they address the conscious brain. They're not dealing with the subconscious brain, which is where the pattern's located. And they're in the wrong part of the brain. They are using the wrong language for the part of the brain where the source pattern is actually at. And then it causes, because they're using the wrong language and they're in the wrong part of the brain that actually sources this unuseful pattern is in conflict, and it works against it, which causes your brain to work against you and what you want. Let me explain. I know this sounds a little crazy or a little confusing. So there are two different parts of your brain. You have many parts, but two I want to talk about specifically are the cerebral cortex, which is the executive functioning brain, and it's right here in the front of your brain, of your head. And when it comes online, you are in your probably early to mid 20s. For men, it might be a little bit later, later 20s. That's when it's fully online and functioning in your early to mid 20s. And it's focused on the quality of your life, language, consequences. It sees vision about how wonderful life can be, what you want to create, and all those wonderful things. What's challenging about it is that we have all these great insights and feelings of ahas, and then we conclude that we're a changed person because they all happen up here. We can rationalize, we can see how this childhood experience created this, and now we sabotage our relationships, or we don't feel worthy of making more money or charging more. We can see all those patterns. And then we think, oh, I had this great aha about it. I must be a changed person. Our behaviors, thoughts, and reactions will be different going forward. We believe that. And they might actually be for a time, but it's not as permanent or as deep as we'd want. And I'll tell you why in a minute. The second part of the brain I want to talk about is the reptilian brain, or the critter brain, which is back here at the base of the skull. It's not just reptiles that we share this brain with. It's a lot of critters on this planet. And when it comes online, we're actually in utero. It comes online at the very, very beginning of our forming, our little bodies. And its focus is just on your survival. That's all it cares about. It does not care about the quality of your life. It's all about fight, flight, or freeze, or fornication. It's a part of our brain that is instinctual, and it's all about your survival. It's automatic, so we don't have to think about it, which is a good thing. But it's also challenging is it has seniority, so it overrides our cerebral cortex, the ahas that we have about, oh, life could be this way. Oh, I see what happened. That's why I overspend, or I don't, again, charge enough. And it fires up our sabotaging behaviors and patterns, even after a great insight, because it doesn't like change. Our reptilian brain doesn't like change. Our cerebral cortex loves change. The reptilian brain does not. And the reptilian brain is in charge of our survival. So it has seniority about what happens in the brain. It's not going to take a chance on something and it's not sure it can survive. Sure, your cerebral cortex knows you'll survive more money, but your critter brain does not. So it will block it. It will send the money away. It will send good health, good relationships away. This is the part of your brain that doesn't do language. Like the kind of language that you just chat with your neighbor. Language comes online around 2 years old, and the critter brain is already fully functioning and in charge. So this is why affirmations can feel really good on the surface, but they don't necessarily penetrate to the deep root of that issue. And since you've already survived this far, your critter brain doesn't want to change because that change might put your survival at risk. Your critter brain sees as what you've already survived, what you've already overcome and lived through is actually survivable. And it actually goes a step beyond that, which I'll talk about in just a minute. The critter brain will not take a risk because it wants to be able to predict how things are. And it can predict that you will survive debt. It can predict that you will survive this loss of a relationship or this heartbreak because you've done it before. It doesn't care that you're in debt or that you have anxiety. It knows you can survive that because you are still alive from all that you experienced before. For example, if you grew up in a household where let's say you got hit on the head with a hammer every day, whether it was figuratively or actually physically hit with a hammer every day. Your critter brain goes, oh my God, am I alive? Am I alive? Oh, I'm alive. Oh, I lived. Okay, I lived. And then time goes on and the hammer comes back. Oh my God, am I alive? Am I alive? Did I survive? Did I survive? Oh yeah, I survived. Okay, good. Goes on. That repeats and repeats and repeats. At some point you grow up, you're old enough, you get out of the house, you get away from that experience, you're free. And you have relief in your conscious brain that you no longer have to be hit on the head by a hammer. Yet your critter brain, enough time has gone by, it starts to worry. We haven't been hit on the head. Are we still alive? I haven't been hit on the head. Am I still alive? So it starts to search. That reticular activating system starts to search. Where are the hammer hitters? Where are the neighbors, the roommates, the bosses, the lovers? Who in my life can I create or pull in that's going to hit me on the head with a hammer? And it may not be an actual hammer, but I'll have that feeling of like, and so it'll go and find them and bring them into your life. So you have that feeling again. And then the critter brain goes, oh, look, now I know I'm alive because we had that experience and I'm still alive. So what you survived in childhood then becomes the thing that your critter brain needs to re-experience, to signal to it that you are still alive. Even though consciously you don't want this hammer hitting anymore. But the critter brain has seniority because it's been online longer, more fully, and is in charge of your survival. So it can override your conscious brain. Again, this is quite the pickle. And with your reticular activating system, we get our beliefs to be true because it starts to search for all of the evidence that this is true. The good news is it's all revisable. And there are ways to work with your critter brain so that it allows more options on your menu, not just the one you're experiencing now and want to change, where it will allow you to have more of what you want with ease, where it doesn't put up roadblocks or send away the money in some disappointing or surprising way. You can get both of these parts of your brain on the same team, working to create what is most important to you in the ways that you want it. This is all possible and very doable. I know because I've done it and I've seen others do it. This is not unique or special to us. It's about using how your brain is naturally designed to create the change you want, the way you want it, without struggle or upset or hardship. So again, all your beliefs, all these subconscious beliefs are all revisable. Once you discover the unuseful belief that you have and you know what you want instead, then you can re-imprint it. I want to give an example of how this shows up with money. For example, there's someone who believes that they have to work really, really hard for money. Let's say it's a father. He believes he's got to work so hard to create money. And his child not having to create that hard. Like that child then has a child and that child grows up. The child actually has it easy somehow. The child just has an easier life. This becomes very upsetting in this father's system, and it actually becomes offensive to his system. It comes with the complication of love. The dad wants to love his child and for her to do well, and her wanting to be loved and feel safety and belonging to her family, who work hard yet has a different experience in money and beliefs about money than her father. It feels like a choice between that this child has to make between being a part of her family, who believes don't fit with her family about having to work hard, or her being more aligned with the truth of who she is and losing her family. So either choice feels like you're going to lose something. You either lose a part of yourself by belonging to your family, or you lose part of your belonging when you own who you are. Now, it doesn't have to be an either or choice, yet this is what plays out in our system, especially around money. So when my client gets a large sum of money easily, she'll disappear quickly to prove her loyalty subconsciously to her family. It goes away because she didn't earn it the hard way. When she revises her beliefs that it's not an either or, I can either have money or have my family, it's actually okay to have both, to have the money she wants in the way she wants it, to create it, and still belong to her family of origin. This sounds so easy to just say it, yet that is the conscious brain. That is where the insights, language, and visions of how lovely our lives can be is housed. The place where this revision needs to happen is in the subconscious brain, this part of the brain that doesn't do language as we know it, and it doesn't like change. So again, it causes a pickle. Yet knowing how these two different parts of your brain work lets you have more facility in working with them. So let's look at the relationship to money and how they're related. There are so many ways you can experience money. You can have the roller coaster of money, surviving the stress of debt, not being able to break through the glass ceiling and feeling that there's never enough or that you are not enough, and lots more. If you think about the type of experience you have around money, what is the feeling that you get that is unpleasant, that you no longer want anymore? And just notice what that experience is like. Where does it show up in your body? What emotions go with this experience? And what thoughts do you say to yourself in those times? Clients will tell me that they feel anxious about not having enough money for retirement, or they dread paying their credit card bills, or they're not certain about how to manage their money. They're afraid to charge more or ask for a raise. So where in your body does this anxiety reside, and what are you anxious about? And the next layer of that anxiety, the overwhelm, the uncertainty, the unworthiness, the fear. Whatever that answer is, ask yourself, how so? How so am I overwhelmed? How so am I uncertain or afraid of whom or what? And get more granular about the details of your experience. And don't stop at the generalized experience of fear and anxiety. Lastly, what words do you say to yourself when you are here? You'll never be able to do it. I don't know what to do. I can't figure it out. It'll never work. I'm not good enough. What are the words and the things that you say to yourself when you're in this place? Excuse me. Now, looking at this deeper experience of money, if you take that and scan your childhood, was the physical feeling or these thoughts or these emotions similar to what you experienced in your childhood? If so, knowing what we know about these parts of our brain, your brain is repeating an experience that you survived as a child to know that you are still alive. So what you survived, as terrible as it was, or maybe it was just more subtly upsetting, it might have been your brain is now needing to recreate that to know that you are still alive. So for example, I have a client named Claire. She has high anxiety, especially on Sunday nights about her job in the coming week. Her body, her brain are all on high alert, looking for and experiencing an attack. See, she's a child. If she didn't keep the house spotless, her parents would berate her emotionally. They would really come at her verbally to where she felt worthless, unloved, and not safe to be herself. And many, many times the outbursts were unexpected, unwarranted, and totally surprising in their intensity. This went on for years. When she was an adult, she finally moved out, has her own family, lives far, far away from her parents, yet her brain is still recreating that upset in her life. Specifically, she's afraid of her boss. She's always looking for signs that her boss will be upset, displeased, or angry with her work. She's looking for any sign to give her warning about what is coming. Predictability. She has projected her childhood experience onto her boss. She feels like a little kid wanting for an authority figure. Okay, I have to stop this.